Hi everyone. Hope you enjoyed the conference. I certainly have. In fact, I just picked up this very complimentary tweet from somebody saying, best conference ever. I've been to 3 conferences, and this one has been motivating and exciting and interesting and great flattering things like that. So thanks for the tweeters who say things like that. I've certainly enjoyed the conference. I think it's been really good, and I wanted to not bask in the glory of that, but actually to say, the people who put the conference together, very much like to thank those individuals who've done that. So that's the Guy, Patrick, Adrian, Mel, those organisers, might be in the room, might not be, but thanks for them. But also for you as the attenders, for the speakers, an excellent speech just there from Helen, and for the sponsors, obviously, particularly the ones who bought the dinner. So it's IBM and Fujitsu. So great thanks to them. I just wanted to kind of close, and I know we're running a little bit late today after the extra long PSN conversation. So I wanted to just close by saying a few things around. So I want to say 3 things of if you like, 3 key observations. I want to announce 3 key reports which are coming up, and make 3 key projections for the year ahead. First of the key observations, I think, comes out of Catherine Howe's initial conversation around the digital leadership. And for me, that conversation around the digital tribes and the way in which our marketplace, our lives, the digital public space is particularly governed by some tribes of digital. And I think the CIO's role, the digital leader's role, in being the Kulfi Anam of those digital tribes, the UN peace broker, if you like, whose job it is to facilitate a dialogue between those tribes and actually make the outcomes that we seek to create happen, is a challenging and exciting space to be at, and I think one which will keep us all lively and actively engaged, with particularly good engagement from our colleagues in journalism as well. So that's a key observation from the start. Second observation, and you probably gathered from some of the conversations that we've had, is it surprises me that PSN is actually bigger than superfast broadband as an issue. How do I know that? Well, we ran some round tables yesterday, and there's a round table for BD UK, superfast broadband, and a round table next to it for a PSN. PSN table, I think, had about 20-30 people on it, and the Broadband UK table didn't have anybody there because everyone was at the next table talking about PSN. I think that's kind of inevitable where we are at the moment, but kind of unfortunate, because actually there's a huge amount, in terms of digital inclusion, social inclusion, economic inclusion, that superfast broadband brings to the country. The BD UK initiative delivering that has been quite fantastic. There's a long way to go yet. PSN has some great ideas and has struggled a little bit recently, hasn't it, around compliance. I think that's where we are at the moment, and that's the observation to be made. Observation from Mike Bracken's conversation earlier, which was absolutely spot on, which is that Socitm is probably the best organisation for GDS to understand as a channel into local public services, local government in particular, but local public services at large. So yeah, I've known that for a while, Mike. I'm glad that you know that now too, and I absolutely agree with you. Socitm is the organisation with which to engage for the GDS service. So I think there's some great ways in which we can make good stuff happen as a consequence of that engagement. 3 Socitm publications I just want to present to you now. One coming out just yesterday, coming out today now. Better with less, delivering local public services to the digital age. That's a publication from the Socitm Insight team. It goes through some case studies of how digital is making an impact in local public services, how the outcomes are being delivered. I recommend that to you. It's an excellent read. If you're short of time, there's the condensed version. Have a go with that one as well. That's available on the website. A couple of other things coming up. There's a PSN briefing. We can't escape from PSN at the moment, can we? So there's PSN, the November briefing. Briefing number 59 from Socitm Insight is a PSN document about the way in which PSN can create benefits, and there are some challenges there which are quite robustly embraced in that. Next week, 16th of November, 16th of December even, there's a document coming out specifically from Bring Your Own Device. So it'll make an interesting read, and I recommend people pick up a copy of that if you can. 16th of December, that comes out. 3 key forecasts for you then. So what's the year ahead got to have? I'd say that the PSN will get better. I'm absolutely convinced of that. I'm absolutely convinced that it has to, because it's the central nervous system of public service. And there's no chance that we can allow it not to get better. And I think it will get better because people are engaging with it honestly. I thought the conversation that we just had with John and Sarah from Cabinet Office was excellent. And I applaud them for being here, because I think they knew that it wasn't necessarily going to be a very easy ride. John and Sarah just left now, and I've just had a further conversation with them. We've just about finished that document we talked about, and we should be able to release that pretty soon, I think. I was grateful that a few people on Twitter were commenting on that conversation and saying that perhaps it was a little bit over polite, and perhaps that they got an over easy ride. Personally, I think that's a tribute to you guys, because I think that actually just railing and ranting was probably not going to be create the successful outcomes that we want. So I think as a society of IT leaders, taking that leadership message, we have positioned ourselves in the place that's right to get that engagement right, and I think great stuff to be had going forwards with the PSN. Really like to get the benefits at the top of the agenda and the compliance underneath that level of priorities, if you like, which is the right way around. And I think that the year ahead will probably enable some of that to happen. I'm certainly hoping. The other forecast for the year going forward is I think that digital will become much more kind of business as usual. You can look at the way in which the predominance, I think this month it's forecast that the number of mobile devices in the planet outnumbers the number of people on the planet. That's the first time those two curves, that curve is crossed. So I think the way in which people engage with digital is increasingly changing. There's obviously nonetheless a digital divide, and there's social exclusion and digital exclusion issue to be faced in every country, and the UK is not separate to that. But the way in which digital is becoming part of the bread and butter of ordinary life will probably be evidenced by the fact that we can probably stop talking about digital a bit, because it's just business as usual. Actually, you don't necessarily need to talk about paper to talk about ideas. You don't need to talk about digital to talk about connected ideas either. I think that's probably part of the forecast going forward. I think also the sort of final forecast is an emergence of a new kind of digital. Having said we don't need to use the word digital, I just have to, because there isn't another better one. A new kind of digital which is probably around creating a co-production environment. We touched on that a little throughout the conference in different ways in which people can say, here's me and I think what Helen was talking about there earlier. Here's me as a citizen, as a consumer, and as a provider. Take a model of the world which is probably less of the citizen kind of deficit model. Citizens need services to be helped to do things; they can't do them themselves, and replace that with an asset-based model of citizens, in which citizens have some of the solutions, and service providers maybe need to step back a bit to allow and facilitate some of those solutions to emerge of their own volition through the enthusiasm of people who care passionately about making them happen. Digital can create the networks that enable some of those things to happen. And absolutely, as Helen was just describing, some ways in which children, the parents of children with special concerns and health issues are very good evidence of the way in which that's taking place. So that's 3 observations, 3 publications and 3 predictions for you. If I left you with one sort of closing thought, to completely corrupt an old phrase about necessity being the mother of invention, I would say actually austerity is the mother of invention. And under the climate of austerity, there's some fantastic new innovations emerging, fantastic ways that people are responding to that. It ain't necessarily good to have necessity, and it ain't necessarily good to have austerity, but either way, those are things which are part of the way in which we're shaping the future, and I think it drives innovation and it drives change. I think we'll see some good stuff coming out of people like yourselves who understand that and get that and can take that back to your part of the world and be leaders in digital in doing that. So thank you very much for being at the conference. I've really enjoyed myself. I hope that you all have. Particularly thanks to our chair today as well. Thank you very much. and thank you for being here.